Natural Minor Scale tutorial, part 2. What we're going to look at today is the harmonisation of the natural minor scale, and we'll also be comparing it to the harmonisation of the major scale. Actually, I've prepared a sheet for us to have a look at on the computer, so let's head over there and have a look at it. Okay, here we have the C major scale over 2 octaves. From this C through to this C is 1 octave, and from this C to this C is a 2nd octave, so 2 octaves. As you can see, the relative natural minor scale is nested within the major scale, and as you see, it is constructed upon the 6th degree of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So from A through to A, an octave higher, and there we have the relative A natural minor scale. So the natural minor scale is going to be constructed on any major scale from the 6th degree. Okay, so in other words, if you had an F major scale, the 6th degree is D. So from D to an octave higher would be the D natural minor scale. Okay, so if we come down here and let's have a look at the chords that are generated. Now, given that the 2 scales, the major scale and its relative minor scale, use the same set of notes, it's obvious that they will then create exactly the same diatonic chords. So if we check these out, we'll see that in C major 7 is functioning as 1 major 7, whereas in natural minor it functions as flat 3 major 7. D minor 7 functions as 2 minor 7, while in natural minor it is the 4th degree on the scale, 4 minor 7. E minor 7th is 3 minor 7th in major, and 5 minor 7th in minor. 4 major 7th in major becomes flat 6 major 7 in natural minor. The 5/7 chord G7th in major is flat 7 7th in natural minor. The 6 minor 7, which is our A minor 7th, becomes 1 minor 7th. Here it is at the beginning of the scale as well. Okay, 1 minor 7th in natural minor, and B minor 7 flat 5, which is our 7 minor 7 flat 5 chord in major, becomes the 2 minor 7 flat 5 in natural minor. Okay, and C major 7th, as we've seen earlier with this C major 7th in the major scale, is flat 3 major 7th in natural minor. Okay, so as we can see, we've got exactly the same set of chords. The only difference is that they're on different degrees, whereas we've got major on the 1st degree, it's now flat 3 here, D minor 7th, D minor 7th, E minor 7th, E minor 7th, F major 7th, F major 7th, G7th, G7th, A minor 7th, A minor 7th, B minor 7 flat 5, B minor 7 flat 5, and C major 7th here. Okay, so same chords, just on different degrees of the scale. Now, you may be wondering why these particular degrees are referred to as flat 3, flat 6, and flat 7. The reason for that is because all harmony and intervals and scale and chord structures are all analysed against the major scale. So if we look at our A major scale here, we'll see that the 3rd degree is C sharp, whereas in natural minor we've had to flatten the 3rd degree here to bring it down to C natural, just as we have had to do with the 6th degree. We've flattened the 6th degree. Here it is flat 6, down to, from F sharp down to F, and G sharp, our 7th degree, is now a flat 7th down to G natural. We've had to make these alterations so as to conform to the intervallic definition of the natural minor scale. If we didn't flatten these degrees, then we wouldn't have this scale. So that is why they're referred to the way that they are, as flat 3, flat 6 and flat 7th. And if we take one more look at those up here, we'll see that we've got flat 3 major 7th, flat 6 major 7th, and flat 7 7th. Okay, let's go back to the guitar and see some of the things we can do with these chords. First of all, we'll look at the major scale, and in the key of C. And here are the 7 diatonic chords. Okay, and what we're going to be doing here is looking at the most important chords out of those, and those are the chords that make the cadence. Now, a lot of you probably don't know what a cadence is. A cadence is a part of a chord progression, or I should say it's where the chord progression actually comes to rest. There's certain parts in a chord progression where you can't rest. For instance, if I was to play this, I can't stop there. I have to go. Right, so that is what the cadence is, where we come to rest. And there are certain chords that are involved in the cadence, and the most important chord in the cadence is the 5 chord, the 5 chord in the key, that is. So in the key of C, the 5 chord is G7, and G7 in the key of C will 9 times out of 10 want to go to the 1 chord. So that's what we call a 5-to-1 resolution. It's the 5 chord resolving to the 1 chord. Right, now the 5 chord can be preceded by the 2 minor 7 chord, which in this key, there it is, D minor 7th. So D minor 7th going to G 7th, and that will then go to C. So there we have what's called the famous 2-5-1. 2-5-1. This 2-5-1 is huge in jazz, absolutely massive in jazz, but also in classical music, in fact all forms of music, but not that much in rock, certainly not in metal, but in all other music you're going to find 2-5-1 happening all the time. And there are other progressions that we can get out of this system, a system being the major scale complete with its chords. So let's have a look at some other ones. So besides the 2-5-1, 2-5-1, we could have a 1-2-3-2, which would be the 1 chord, going to the 2, going to 3, back to 2, and it might sound like this. We could have a 3-6-2-5, which would be the 3 chord, which is E minor 7th, going to the 6 chord, A minor 7th, going to D minor 7th, which is the 2 chord, going to the 5 chord, G 7th. So there we have a 3-6-2-5. Any point from this 5 chord to the 1 chord. Very common in pop music and rock music is a 1-4-5 chord progression, which would be C going to the 4 chord, F going to the 5 chord, G or G 7th. So C, C, F, G. Quite often in jazz musicians will in a 1, 6, 2, 5. In a 1, 6, 2, 5, which is C major 7th, A minor 7th is the 6th chord, D minor 7th is the 2, and G 7th is the 5. Right, now the 6th chord, very often jazz musicians will replace the A minor 7th with an A dominant 7th. So instead of, it'll be, which gives a better resolution, by the way, to the 2 minor. Going back to G7, back to C. And because this A7th, by the way, is not diatonic to the key of C, it's actually a secondary dominant chord. We'll have a discussion on secondary dominant chords at another time, because that's quite a big subject also. But what we can do with this secondary dominant, it's actually functioning in the key of D minor, and it resolves to the 2 chord, which is a D minor 7th. So what we can do here, we can add some extensions to this A7th. And when we add the extensions, they've got to be in the key of D minor. Okay, so if we wanted to add a 9th, for instance, and a straightforward 9th isn't going to or a natural 9th isn't going to be correct, because it's B natural. And in the key of D minor, which this chord's functioning in, there is no B natural, it's a B flat. It's the same as the key of F. D minor has 1 flat, which is a B flat. So if we're going to put a 9th into the A7th, we'll make it a flat 9, which will be a B flat on top of the chord here. And as you'll now hear, it will resolve nicely to the D minor. If we want to use a 13th, again, the 13th as a 13th would not work, because it's an F sharp, and there's no F sharp in the key of D minor, it's a D natural. So it would have to be a flat 13, and also that can be called an augmented 5th. There it is, here's the 13, flatten it, so, and that gives us a nice scope of scale use here, because when we're soloing over these changes, if we kept the 6th chord as it originally was, an A minor 7th, then the 4 chords that I'm playing, 1 chord, 6 chord, 2 and 5, are all in the key of C. And that can get boring just playing in the same key all the time. By using an A7th and altering it as well, we can now start using melodic minor scale, which then takes us out of the key of C. Okay, so that makes the music a lot more interesting. The more we can move around changing keys, the better it is, because it's like using more colour. In art, you know, if you're painting one colour all the time, it's not going to be that interesting. And it's the same with music. If you're using one scale to the total exclusion of all others, then again, that's also can be quite boring. So we've got to kind of get out of that if we can. So anyway, so that's what we can do. There's some ideas there, what we can do with the major scale. Let's have a quick look at minor. Now, the same kind of chord progressions we've quickly looked at here in the major key also exist in minor key music. So if we look at the key of C minor, the 1 chord is your C minor, and the 2 chord sorry, these chords are coming from natural minor, so a C minor 7th would be the 1 chord, or a straight minor triad could be the 1 chord. Okay, D minor 7 flat 5 is the 2 chord, and G7th is the 5 chord. So, oh sorry, let me go back on that. G minor 7th in natural minor, in C natural minor, is the 5 chord. So the difference here between major and minor in a cadence like this is, whereas in major key the 5 chord is a dominant 7th, in natural minor key, the 5 chord is a minor 7th. Now there's a problem with this because the minor 7th doesn't give the same strength and finality of resolution that the dominant 7th does in the major key. So let's just have a listen to that and you'll hear what I mean. Here's a 2-5-1 in C minor. So we've got D minor 7 flat 5, going to G minor 7th, right, that's not that great, and going to C minor. So let's just play that a couple of times. Sorry, D minor 7 flat 5. Now let's do the same thing and change, this time we'll change the G minor 7th into a G dominant 7th. There's a big difference there. Also, what we could do with this G7th, now that we've changed it from the minor 7th, we can add the flat 13 or sharp 5, which will make a nice change going to the minor chord, especially we've made the minor chord a minor 9th. Like that. So here we've got C minor 9th now functioning as our 1 chord. So our 2 chords, D minor 7 flat 5, G7 augmented 5th, and we could play this last chord, this C minor 7th, as a C minor 11th as well. So let's listen to that. We could also put a sharp 9 or a flat 9 on the top of this G7. Or a sharp 9, that was a flat 9 on top. Sharp 9 would be... Okay. And we could do a 1-6-2-5, which would be a 1. Going to the 6th chord, which is A flat major 7th, going to a 2 minor 7 flat 5, going to G7th augmented 5th, which is the 5 chord, going to the 1 chord. So, and there's your cadence in minor key. So minor key cadence is a 2, 5 and 1. Okay. I hope this has thrown some light on the subject for you, and experiment a lot with these chords. What you should do is probably write the chords down on a sheet of paper so you can see what you've got in front of you and see what resources you have, and just mix these chords up and see what you can come up with. You'd be amazed at what you might come up with. Experimentation, that's the name of the game, guys. Okay. If you need any more info on stuff, especially scales and how to use them, and chords and chord progression and the blues, visit my website. There's loads of material there that you can have a look at. Okay guys, I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you.